Hey everybody, welcome to Season 5, Episode 12 of The Hard Truth, inside the Football History Podcast, with me, Philip Ideson, and Darragh MacAnthony, the chairman and owner of Peterborough United. Now, we've just had a good old chat before we came online talking politics. Been an interesting week, that's for sure, and that's probably as far as I want to go.
Listen, I do love a few den tears, a few lib tears, all right? You know? But we were just saying there, and this is to everyone out there, because everything has become so toxic when one person's on one side and whatever else, is that you're obviously a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and we get on great. And we've never fallen out over our politics, our choice of candidates. And my God, like since 2016, the amount of families, people falling out and whatever, I put up a congratulations to our future president on social media. And, to be fair, 90% was all positive. If that was 4 years ago, it would have been 90% negative. And you had the usual couple of people like, yeah, you've got daughters, and how could you do that? And, at the end of the day, everyone has to vote for themselves. Everyone has to vote for what they believe in. And I believe that is democracy. So, and I love that. But I can't wait to vote 4 years when I'm a full citizen. And, people in England are the same. You want to vote Conservative, you want to vote Labour. But, where it becomes you can't have dinner with people or break bread, or you get shunned, or you get embarrassed, or you get shamed because you might vote Republican and you might vote Democrat. We have to move past that crap. It's just like this, the world's gone mad on that front. So that's all I'll say, like, politically, about America.
90% of us want the same 90% as each other. And, you may disagree around the edges, but that's not reasons to ostracize people or fall out. Or
no.
I mean, it's great that everyone can, it's great when you can agreeably disagree. Is that the saying? It's like, you may have some different perspectives, but what's done is done. And, as me being on the other side, we're talking about, my view is I just got to take advantage of the opportunities that hopefully come along as a result of it. And
it's Veterans Day today, right? And it's like Remembrance Day and all the stuff in the UK and all the stuff in America. Those people fought at 17, 18 on beaches, sent to their death to defend democracy, to defend our right to debate, to defend our right to vote. That's why those people, I was sometimes thinking those poor people in heaven, looking down at the way we've become as a society, where we can't agree or disagree in a civil way, where it becomes, if you wear a red hat that says "Make America Great Again," you're a Nazi, and it's gone too far. And those people fought for everyone's right to wear a red hat if they want to. At the end of the day, do you want to be a Republican, Democrat? Same in the UK, whether you're Labour, Conservative, and we'll touch on Labour in a bit about the rules, the new kind of tax rules and how that affects football clubs. But like that is your fundamental right to vote the way you want, to have freedom of speech, all those things. And God bless all those people who lost their lives defending that, through the various wars. So, I was thinking about that this weekend, you know what I mean? In the various, like,
puts things into context.
It does. And I look at my kids and I think, my daughter turned 18 yesterday. My son's 19. People of that age and younger were dying for us to be able to have debates. So, don't want to bore people on the podcast and get too political or talk about wars, but sometimes you have to, like, pay respects, to the memories of those people, and what they did and whatever else. So, and like at our game at the weekend, I was disappointed because there was some during the minute silence. And, this is how weird I am with it. I stood in my office there watching the game on Saturday and stood up for that minute of silence, and out of respect, even though I'm in my little office, no one's around, because they're the things you do. And, I can hear people cheer, making noises and whatever else. And I'm just like, are you brain dead? Like, show some respect. It's just like, whether it's my fans, other fans or whatever, show some respect. And it was a small group. The mass majority of the sellout was respectful. But that did disappoint me. So, and Alan Swan, don't put a big headline out. We've just come off a really good win. Let's focus on that. You know what I mean? And whatever else, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was disappointing. So anyway, so where else are we in the football world?
So let's go with politics and then we'll go into the football. But the politics being what you kind of alluded to there. It was last week, I think, that new national insurance rules were announced. And I know you have some pretty strong thoughts on the impact that can have on a football club. And not that it can have, that it will have on football clubs.
Yeah, I read that budget, and obviously my CFO and my CEO sent me the aftermath of that wonderful, ridiculous new thing from the budget from Labour. who basically now are, they've gone completely against what they said they were going to do. So, Gary Neville's very proud of playing a big part in getting them in.
15% now? 15% national insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just that; it's per hour pay also in certain age groups. It's
okay.
If you go across the football. Put it this way: the EFL were pretty. I won't say they were pro-Labour, but I believe our stadiums were allowed to be used. Correct me if I'm wrong, for voting stations and for information stations, and and part of that was, well, we're going to get this independent football person in that was going to help and get us a bigger deal from the Premier League. But what's the point in getting a bigger deal if a big chunk of it's taken away with more national insurance and more debt? Like, we're an industry that loses fucking money. We lose money. We lose millions. Most football clubs lose millions. We're an industry that didn't get very little help from the government, which was a Tory government during COVID. Very little help. There's no bailouts. Other industries, the arts, all of those, they all got help. And now we have a new government that's come in and gone, well, let's just decide to go after business. Let's be the anti-business people. Let's just hammer businesses. Just what they need after COVID, where you're still paying all the debts from COVID. Let's just go after them. Let's throw another 30 billion or whatever into the NHS, and let's do, and the reason I'm talking about it, and I'll keep it short and sweet, and I don't want to be too controversial, but nobody's really talking about it. Like us alone, those changes are going to take out of our budget year to year an extra 250 grand.
Mm-hmm.
We're already losing billions every year.
Yeah.
And now I'm not going to find 250 grand. What do you think most businesses are going to do? That's just us, the size of our club. Think about bigger clubs. Think about more employees at other clubs. What do you think those clubs and us are going to do? What do you think is going to happen?
They're going to take out employees, unfortunately, to plug the gap.
That's what's going to happen.
Which is then going to reduce the tax base because you've got less employees who are paying tax.
And the irony is, the people who are probably going to end up losing their jobs are the same people who voted these clowns into place to make rules like this. It's just completely anti-business. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm not a fan of the Tories either. They didn't exactly shine and glory for the years they were in power. But it's like, my God, you want to punish small businesses. You want to punish business owners who are basically there already bringing in millions of taxes for you every year. What is the sense? Where does the EFL stand in this? I haven't seen anything from them either. We were so, pushing this and whatever. So when's the independent regulator coming in? 2 years, a year, 3 years, 4 years? To what effect?
Yeah.
Let's say every club gets an extra 300 grand a year. It's just been wiped out. What was the point? Like, I don't quite get it. And you're going to have some people who are going to go, you should pay more. And this is, but they'll be the working man and, whatever else going on. It's only right. Like, I had people the other day saying, you should pay more tax. Yeah, well, I already pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax. It's probably 20, 30, 50 times more than you pay because I work longer hours and harder. So why don't you work harder and you pay more tax? So you're going to have people going, well, you can't let people go and you should do this and you should pay people the right way. It's all very well for you to say, go and open a business. Yeah, go and do it yourself, because I saw there was a massive business. There was a thing about them where they turn over millions and they were closing a couple of factories or whatever it was. I don't know what industry they were in because of this new rule. And people were like, well, it wasn't a sustainable business in the first place. If this new rules are, again, people
you
don't
can't just
understand
change rules on businesses overnight and expect that
the basic economics. People don't get the basic economics. If business owners down tools, if business owners close businesses, they leave. Good luck to how your economy is going to look in 4 to 6 years' time. I told you all during COVID what would happen. I told you what was going to follow. And when you see it was 80 billion or 90 billion they're now spending or whatever it is, a lot more than they were previously, because they said they were 20 billion down for. Well, that's probably all the money wasted during COVID. That was printed money while you locked people up and wouldn't let them go to work. So, that was always going to happen. So, that's not good, and God knows what other clubs are feeling as well with bigger wage bills than ours. So those effects alone. So when I saw the number, I was like, wow. I mean, just alone in this current cash flow year, it's just added another in the 6 months from, or when it goes into effect in April to the end of June, I think it was like 60 grand extra. We were already like a mill in the hole. So you're not helping. You're not encouraging me to go out and employ more people. You're not encouraging me, why? You're like, I don't get it. So anyway, so that's my little thing on that. I think football needs to look at that. They need to look at it to get close to. They need to because, all politicians are the same, I guess. They make promises they don't keep. And then the people within football who are close to this particular party, they should maybe look in the mirror as well. Because they've suddenly gone very quiet after spending like 3-4 years hammering the other side, and now it's like crickets. I have no respect for that either. Come out and own it.
What's the deal with the regulator at this point? Because I haven't heard anything on that for,
I don't know,
what seems like forever.
I don't know. Like this time last year, we were expecting a windfall from a deal that never emerged. Then it was all about the regulator. And then it was like, this for the Premier League, we'll play a blinder. And, you know, if you were them, you'd do the same. And they knew that just like, let's just bide our time. Why should we give money away now? Stall them. And I'm sure the regulator will be fought, and Labour are going to bring the regulator in. That's wonderful. But like I said, you know, the regulator comes in, and I guess the regulator's working on loads of other stuff, not just money. But like, let's say the deal is, I don't know, 200 grand, 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 million extra. We've just already lost 20-25%. So, and by the time the regulator comes in, it's a big chunk. So it's very frustrating. So that's a real shame for clubs. God knows what, like, some of the championship clubs with their wage bill, you're probably talking about 7 figures, those differences. Those owners aren't going to make that difference up. They're going to make the difference up by cutting staff. That's not how you help an economy. It's not how it works.
Well, but if you look, you go even further down the pyramid, and they've got clubs that are week to week.
100%.
Who are, you know, fan owned, and they're getting whatever money they can just to survive. And, you know, that money is still, in context, is as much money as it to a National League North club as it is to a Championship club.
100%. It's, these people are anti-business. They're anti-business. And I have no time for anti-business. So I guess it's, what is it, 5 years till the next election in the UK? So it's going to be we'll be on season like 9 or whatever, or 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
It's going to be in League 2, and you have gone up and down a couple of times.
It's going to be interesting to. I'm hoping like go up twice and then down once, you know, to Premier League back to the top. But like, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what state the UK is in by 2029. Like, you know, I wouldn't. Yeah, who knows? And there's going to be people who disagree with this. You can disagree, just do it politely. You know, don't come up with your usual crap that you get on social media. Always makes me laugh. Anyway, on with the football. Was there anything interesting this weekend happened?
I think you may have had a local derby on Saturday. So why don't you talk me through how that went?
So I'd moved into a new house Friday night. That was a stressful day. I had 19 years with my wife. We've various houses around the world, probably done like 18 moves or whatever else. And she's done all of them. I've always been away on business when they happen.
Bad planning on your part, is this?
Well, it was a house we built, so I had to be here for certain things, the constructor and the, you know, project managers to get us in. And, you know, it was very stressful. My wife then obviously proceeded from Friday night till today, Monday morning, unpack the whole thing. So I told her quite clearly, Friday I would help, as in I would direct movers and people and da-da-da-da-da. But I said Saturday and Sunday, as per usual, I will be sat on the couch. I'll be watching my beloved Posh, the NFL, my beloved new Detroit Lions, who are my new favorite team. Now the Patriots suck. Phenomenal last night. So I kind of like, I woke up Saturday morning, my new office in my house, watched the mighty Posh, turn on the thing. Obviously, you know, you're reading all the headlines the week leading up to it. We had a great midweek win against Palace under-21s. We won the group. We're into the next round of the trophy. You know, won in the FA Cup of the weekend. And you're going into the derby game, and everyone's telling, you know, Cambridge have had 5 clean sheets. They've won 5 games. They're impenetrable. You're not going to score goals against them. I saw some comments from their captain about how we're, you know, he wasn't disrespectful. He was trying to say, well, they've sold a lot of good players. They're not quite, you know, it's like an adjustment year for them. I never used the word like adjustment, or, you know, basically kind of imply that we're struggling and da-da-da-da-da. So, you know, I was thinking, okay, this would be really interesting. The first 20 minutes of the game, we weren't at the races. They weren't hurting us. Our goalie didn't make a save, but they were a lot more aggressive. We were a little bit passive. And then it was just bang, which can happen against our young guns. When they want to, when they move up a gear, they could obliterate anybody. And basically in the space of, I don't know, 25 minutes, the game was over. We absolutely destroyed them. Our front four tore through them. It was just like, it was a knife through butter. It was that lethal. And don't get me wrong, you know, we give a lot of plaudits to our front four. Just like I'll criticize them when they go to a Bolton and, you know, don't necessarily show up. But there were a lot of good performances on Saturday. And yes, Poku will get the headlines, and Ricky will get the headlines, and Malik and Joe Randall. But we've been missing one of the best midfielders in the league and winning some big games. Blackpool at home, Saturday at home. Hector hasn't played. You've had Ryan de Havilland, who's in year 2. Young player we bought last year, suddenly looking brilliant. Young Donny O'Brien. Archie now is back to full form. You've got a new back 4 there, back there. Donnelly, who's obviously our own, starting to look like a player, 390 minutes in a week. Jack Sparks, who's had a lot of criticism. He was phenomenal on Saturday. And then the 2 centre-halves. I was gutted for Nick, the goalkeeper, because he deserved a clean sheet.
Yeah.
And he's been a big reason we were so good against Blackpool and so good on Saturday. He brings something, with all due respect to the previous goalkeeper, he brings an attacking element that's possible for a goalkeeper. The way he gets us going, the way he plays, his dominance on Saturday in the air, he's a young goalie. And I've always said if our fans get behind him, mistakes or no mistakes, he's a hell of a prospect. And it was good.
And so some of his mistakes that he's made in the past, have been because of those attacking tendencies and wanting to move the ball. So how do you balance? How do you kind of balance that? You don't want to stop him from wanting to move the ball quickly.
You give him a free pass. I've seen Alisson for Liverpool make loads of mistakes. There'll be videos out there of Alisson, one of the best goalies in the world, making some comical errors, passing to the opposition. Like give the ball away. Like I've seen it. But then nobody talks about it because Alisson's such a brilliant goalkeeper on the attack. He's not just a great shot stopper. The amount of goals he's set up for, like Salah, passing. Nick's one of them. His hand distribution out to the wings. He kicked one on Saturday to put us in. Went 80 yards to kick straight to our winger's foot. And we were attacking. So I think, was he 22? You allow the mistakes and they will become less and less. As more experience you get, the more you play, it becomes less and less. So you back the horse. You don't want him to change because that's how you want to play. If the manager wants to play out from the back, you have to give him the tools. That goalie was part of the tools you give him because he can play to that way. I'm not dissing Jade's theory. He's a brilliant goalkeeper. He's very experienced, but he would say himself, he's not the same type in that way.
Yep.
So everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So at the end of the day, look, we've a young defence. It's gutting not to get a clean sheet. And it wasn't his fault. It was just a good shot, a good goal. The defenders are much better. We've defended better the last 4 or 5 games. In all the games we've, even against Bolton, should never have lost that game. Should have been a clean sheet. You know what I mean? So we've conceded not 2 a game like we have previously. We're down to like 1 a game. And it's just going to get better, hopefully. So I'm only gutted Charlton's off next week. Now we've got 2 weeks with no football. It's good on one hand because we've got like 3 players we need to get back that are like key to everything. So that gives them an extra 2 weeks. But I'm gutted because I think the team... The engine started. I think we're ready. We've got injuries or not, because we've shown that even with injuries, we can still win games on our best day. I think we're ready, and we need to be ready now. We're getting into like late November, December. It's time to get the car started and go bang and start winning games. Not one, whatever else. We need to win some games. So that's how good teams come good. And I think we're set up for that. And I think as the cavalry arrives back and we've Con Clark back, Jadell's going to be back early. We got our 500 grand left back finally on the grass, who hasn't made his debut for us yet. And I think Hector will be back in 2 weeks. So, we're getting there to where we'll hopefully touch my new wood floors. We'll have like a full squad to choose from going into the second half of the season with a lot of fresh players. Yeah. So that can only be positive. So, so it was a great Saturday. We battered the local rivals, Cambridgeshire's Blue, 6-1. I love the fact they scored and made it 5-1, and we still had time to get down and get Kwame's hat trick. So
there was no giving. There was no like, we're done now and let's just sit back.
No. Our greatest, mentality and asset is to attack. We're not a team for 1-0s. Just like it's not for the faint-hearted watching Posh. So we want to go out and bury teams. We want to go out and like destroy. We want to go out and rip your soul out. We want to go out and that's what we want to do and score goals. And we want those headlines. It's not about being the entertainers. We just want to play nice football, score goals. Our home form's starting to click. We won a lot of games now, done well at home after the shitty start of the season at home. Yeah. And that's what we want to give our fans. So, fans were good. Saturday was a sellout. Fair Cambridge fans the same, barred the issues with the minute silence at the start from our fans. And I don't know, there's a few of their fans. And then one of their fans, I think, was arrested for making a racist chant to Ricky.
Yeah.
Some fans have got a brain cell that don't quite get that, you know what I mean? So anyway, I think he was arrested and dealt with. But, there was I don't think there was any violence outside, a big derby game. And Cambridge are in great form. To be fair, they had a horrible start to the season, and the manager must have been under tremendous pressure. So I've given credit for winning, like to turning that around to the point where people probably were like, "Oh, this might be a close game." And as it turned out, the mighty Posh were firing on all cylinders. So yeah, delighted with a week. 3 great wins, 14 goals, I think. Into 2 cups the next round, and then obviously starting to win again in the league. So yeah, long may that continue, and we need to take off.
Now the top scorer in the entire 92 in the calendar year 2024, I saw.
Not for the first time.
So what is it about Kwame Poku that has turned him into, he's obviously been a strong player for the last couple of years, but this year is really firing. He got player of the month in September, and he did in October, and at this rate he's going to get it in November as well. Is it just natural progression? Is he doing something differently?
Yeah.
Is it just different opportunity in the team now?
No, I think he's 23. He hasn't even his prime or his peak. I think he's just growing as a player. I think this is a great example sometimes as like fans where we can get on top of players, or we can be too overcritical of players, where Kwame, I bought 3.5 years ago, 250 grand as a 19-year-old. We knew he was going to be a top class player.
Oh yeah.
Now,
we said at the time, he's Colchester, he was tearing it up in League Two. Colchester,
top player, top great young player. And he's just one of them who he's just playing it, players get to that level. That's where they suddenly get the next move. That's where they kick on. Kwame will play in the Premier League. Without a doubt. I'm reading about foreign clubs and all that crap. And, Kwame will go to a top championship side or a Premier League side of any sense. Now, Premier League club probably won't buy him because they're snobs, a lot of them, and rarely do that. But, he will go to a top champ side who will pay him, going abroad won't suit him. So he belongs in the Premier League. So that's where he's going to end up. It's a pleasure to have him, and he'll be with us 4 years. We made him the best offer we've ever made anyone. I mean, record breaking. Yeah. And, he fully said no, but, when players like, well, I'm just going to wait and whatever else, he knows he's going to the next level. And we'd like him to be with us to get promoted. And then we'll still get the Tribunal millions and millions. He's been with us for a long time. We paid money. So, yeah, Kwame's just at that level where he's coming into his own, where he's strong, he's physical, he's fit, he's dominating games, he's scoring goals, he's adding all the pieces. And by the way, that's because of Darren Ferguson. Darren got him at 19. Yes, Grant had him for a few months or whatever else. But that's Darren Ferguson and his staff over the last 4 years. It's Kwame himself, and it's the coaches improving him. And it's really funny because me and the manager were speaking after the Crystal Palace win in midweek, where a few of the squad got some minutes. And we were like, Abraham Odo has done really well. He's got a couple of goals, a couple of assists. Keane did quite well in the game. And we're like, we've probably been quite harsh on them players coming in the summer. You're replacing Efron, you're replacing whatever else. And it's like, we have to allow, it's a bit like a wine, I suppose. You have to uncork it and let it breathe and whatever else. And maybe some players are year 2. Some players kick on. Kwame in the first 6 months was in the 21s. He was injured. He had COVID twice and whatever. Sometimes it takes time to adjust, and the expectation of Peterborough. Malik, people are surprised he's done really well, and they forget he's 20. Last year he was in and out of the team. Now he's making the left side his own. And sometimes it's year 2. Ryan de Havilland in year 2 this year looks tremendous. Yeah. Sometimes we at Posh put the pressure on when we're replacing that player. So they've got to go straight in and do what Efron Mason Clark did. They got to do what Kwame Poku did. Sometimes it's, Manny Fernandez is a colossus, and he's been with us 3 years. When they're young and they're that age, you're not going to see their best maybe straight away. It's going to take a bit of time. Archie Collins goes in. He's straight away. He's like, but he was 24, 23. He played a lot of League One games, a lot of League Two games. And Hector took a few months from Leyton Orient to come in, and by year 3, he's like the real deal. So again, it's probably our impatience and wanting players to be ready to go right now. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So no, we're good. Donnelly was on standby for the England under 19s or the under 20s. The England under 20s looking at Donny, as are Jamaica, I believe, full internationals. So, the younger players are getting that recognition, and I love to see that. And Ricky is starting to look like a striker everybody in the country is going to want to buy in January, because he's now adding goals to his game.
Right, and we said that's all he really needed to do. Well, even then when he wasn't, he brought him up to a team where bigger clubs were interested in him. But
I mean, now it's lift off. So Ricky, there's the amount of clubs in for him, and there was a club that had agreed to buy him in the summer, but their takeover was postponed for a while or whatever else. So it'll be interesting. You know, his price has gone up.
Because, you know, people are stressed. You know, Posh fans are stressing out about, well, what will we get for Poku if he's out of contract? And you've talked about tribunals. Like, what does the tribunal take into account when setting a fee for a player like Kwame?
A lot of things. They will look at basically, you know, how long is he with you? So he'll have been with us 4 years. He'll have played probably 200 games. And, you know, we'd have paid nearly $500,000 in add-ons already. They will look at the offers we've had. So we'll be able to straight away go into the tribunal and show them offers from 6 months ago that were of the value of 3 and 3. 3 million up front, 3 million in add-ons. And we will expect minimum that plus, and plus. So, you know, a fair tribunal will look and go, yeah, you've spent $500,000, you've developed him. So, and the club that will be trying to sign him, they'll look at it and go, well, that's a big club with money and whatever, and you're going to have to pay, you know, whatever else. So that's how they would value that. Ricky would be probably even more because Ricky's been with us since he was 7. So you know, and so all those things are taken into account. So we would expect
you made him a big offer as well.
Absolutely, and that
plays into it, doesn't it?
That plays into it too. So we'd expect the tribunal to be very fair, to not discourage clubs from, you know, being in that situation. And, you know, when you get richer clubs coming in, and to make them pay a fair price. And the fair price for someone like Kwame, you know, is in the millions and millions and millions, because he's going to be one of them players probably in 3 years' time, he will go for like 30+ million. If I was to be a guessing man, you know, he will. He'll be one of them that will go champ, prem, and then he'll go bang again, because he's got physicality, he's got pace, he's got technique that's top drawer, he's got an appetite, he's ever present, all those things. He will kill it in the Prem. And I know people say, well, what about Ronnie? Ronnie's young, he will still make it in the Prem. Harrison's already killing it in the champ. He's going to, you know, make it next. You know, Ivan made it. Sammy, another one of ours who spent a long time with us. Yes, Blackburn take credit and Colchester take credit and all of that, but he's now scoring goals in the Premier League. So it's like Kwame could be one of the best. And I haven't given up on Efron, Mason Clark at Coventry. If he gets a run playing in his rightful position, like I said in the last podcast, he could be on playing in that championship. So it's exciting. It's great to see. And I know my fans are worried about that, worried about whatever else, but this is what we do. We've got to stop. We've got to stop worrying about people who leave, people who move on to bigger things, because that's just the law of the jungle. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just the way it is. And, you know, as much as people were disappointed in Liz Harrison and disappointed in Liz Ronnie and Josh Knight, whatever, you know, they got their own new heroes and their own new people moving in all the time. So yeah, I'm very excited. You know, we've got a hell of a lot of talent at the club. So yeah, all positive. We just need to get a run of wins together and go into the end of 24, you know, looking at 25, ready to attack it. So, you know, from that point of view, yeah, excited.
And you got Reading at home, Notts County at home in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And Burton at home. I guess your next ones with the Charlton game being postponed. Ironic it was Charlton as well, given everything that went on with Charlton a year or two ago, with that relatively late cancellation. So
I'm not going to dig in and try. I get people are frustrated, the lateness of the call off and whatever else, and travel arrangements. I totally empathise. You know, I think Charlton probably have a few injuries that they have, because the 3 people called up don't really play a lot for them, I think. So I have no problem with what they've done. You know, at the end of the day, we've all been in that position where you're kind of like thinking, oh, you don't need a game for 2 weeks, or whatever. It allows us to get some of our big players as well that, you know, are working through fitness and whatever else get back. We'd love more games, but it's okay. You know, I'm gutted for the fans who like lost money on train tickets. I think we definitely have to look at that whole system of how late do you make the call up, you know, and that kind of the process, because that's wrong, where people have spent 50, 60 quid on a ticket. But I think I'm right in saying that if you're this far out, you can get a refund on a train ticket. I might be wrong, but I think, you know, when it's like 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, I'm pretty sure, you know, hotels, train tickets, they are, you know, refundable or reusable elsewhere. So anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, we've got a bit of time before our next few games. I don't care who we're playing. We have to just beat what's put in front of us. We need to get going. Like I said, we need a bit of a stack of run, you know, stack some wins together. That's what we need. You can't be just win one, batter someone, lose a stupid game late on. We need to win some games. So that's what we got to do. Let's talk about the mighty Bantams. What's going on? What's happening with Bradford?
So the mighty Bantams lost at Fleetwood on Saturday, 1-0. One of those games where they scored early, penalty, you know, 7 or 8 minutes in. we probably had most of the rest of the game that I saw. I was on dual duty with my son at a football tournament in Tallahassee, so kind of half listening to it in one ear and watching the game in another ear. It was another case of square pegs and round holes in terms of team selection because of injuries still. We had young Bobby Poynton, left wing back. We had one centre half. We had our two fullbacks, both as the other two in a back three. So we were kind of all over the place from a positional perspective. Now, there's a couple of those you could say he could have played different players in different positions. Were those the right positions to play people in? But we're struggling still from an injury perspective. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 and Patterson, who are two attacking players for us, still out. I'm not quite sure when they're going to be back. Tyreek Wright is now out for at least a couple of months, who was our left wing back. So I think that with all that said, I think we're doing okay. I don't think you can, I start to see, well, Alexander should get sacked again, losing at Fleetwood with half his team out injured. But that's just the nature of being a Bradford supporter, I think. Would I have liked to have won? Yes. Can you understand the mitigating circumstances for us still struggling a little bit at the moment with everything that's going on? Yes.
What were Fleetwood like?
There were nothing special, I don't think. I'm just looking at the table. We're only a couple of points off the playoffs. I mean, like you're 3 off the playoffs, we're 2 off the playoffs. So it's
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so it's not like we're down there at the bottom or anything.
Sure.
As far as I'd love to be top of the table, but being in around the playoffs right now, get some of the players back, go on the run. Now it's just a matter about accumulating points where you can get them accumulated so that you're staying in and around there, I think, while we get some of the injuries back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all fair. Look, I always say, like, someone messaged the other day about, like, when do you start looking at tables and when do you look at this and look at that? Look, we know what's coming. We know Christmas is coming. Get past Christmas, get into January, through all the cup season, and then you start focusing and drilling down on where am I on the table? Where do I need to do? What blah 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 blah. We've seen it so many times. Whether, like, a couple of years ago we came on a run late on and got in on the last day, or last year we were pretty comfortably in. At the end of the day, there's a long way to go. I mean, again, to be calling for, like Alexander said, after one bad result, it's been a pretty good couple of months for Bradford fans now. Like, it's been pretty decent. And, like you said to me last week at half, when we were 2-0 down in the FA Cup, people were asking for third. I mean, fucking hell almighty. Come on.
The world we live in.
Come on. So, what have you got coming up?
We have Colchester away on Saturday.
Okay.
Then we got Rotherham in the EFL Trophy, and then Accrington at home, and then Accrington at home. So that's our next 3.
And are there any players on the verge of coming back? Like, we're getting some strong players back. Have you got any coming back?
I think there's a couple that are not that far away. In fact, one of them I think was suspended, which was Jack Shepherd. So he'll be back at the weekend. So that'll be one more centre half. It looks like now Byrne is back now. I think Patterson might be a little bit closer than 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 is still a month or 2 from what I gather.
Gotcha.
So there's some long-termers still out there, but I think we'll be starting to get people back. It's just, they just keep on coming. And we've talked for years about, when you look at buying players, you obviously a big part of your scouting and your decision-making is injury records that relate to their age and the types of injuries and things like that. And I've just always felt that's been something that we have not done a good job on, because we over-index on players that have experience playing in front of big crowds.
Yeah.
And therefore they're typically coming down from, other clubs who are more similar in size to us, but they're affordable to us because there's a doubt over their fitness.
Yeah.
And so we keep buying these players and, lo and behold, they keep getting injured. And the process just seems to continue to repeat itself.
Well, hopefully they'll finally learn from that, and hopefully, we can both have a second half of the season that's kind of like injury-free, because I think we deserve it. I think both our clubs have been through the mill, in the first half of the season. So let's not talk about that word anymore.
I'm comfortable that, with where we are at the moment, with the squad that we've got, you start getting some of those injuries back. I mean, this is a playoff top 3 team.
Without a doubt.
So I've not got concerns about that. It's
I
just
agree
getting folks back.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I think this isn't like last year's Bradford or,
Right.
whatever else. I agree with you. And League Two is not like last year's League Two.
No.
So I do agree. I think you will go up automatically this year. As much as that might frighten some of the naysayers who are like, oh, it's never going to happen. I do think this is the year.
Yeah, I agree. Get those players back, keep some fit.
Yeah.
Then I don't see a reason why we shouldn't.
No, nobody's running away with anything, are they?
No.
So
and we're hanging in there without, while we're trying to play all these players out of position.
100%. We've been dragging our arse the whole season with injuries. We've had the shit kicked out of us, from officials' point of view and things happening. We've lost so many good players. And, obviously we do, again, without sound boring, we've got the youngest squad out there and we're playing players that are months ahead of when they should have been playing. And, we're still there. We're still fighting. We're still there. So, yeah, again, like I said, it's way too premature to be calling time on either of our teams as regards to that.
Yeah. And I think for us, which is different than years past, is that there may be a little bit of money in the kitty in January as well.
Yeah.
And that's always been a challenge for us. So, I think we kept some powder dry over the summer for January.
Yeah.
And so if there are gaps to fill, I think we have the ability to go and look at filling them.
Yeah, and we've got obviously Sweden's second leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
Coming off winning the title in the second division, arriving on Posh, 2nd of January, the mighty Gustav. So
he gets his 6-week preseason now.
Yeah, well, he's going to get a bit of a break, and then he's going to train with us in December. And then obviously he's going to be looking at our front four, thinking, "Christ, how do I add to that?" But yeah, so it's like so he'll have to bet himself in. So so there's some more attacking reinforcements to come.
Meanwhile, the mighty Liverpool are 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League.
Hey, fair play to Arnie. I mean, I watched the game on was it Saturday? Yes, Saturday the late game against Villa. Absolute, yeah. I mean, Villa had chances, but I thought it was comfortable. I thought Liverpool were very good. This guy's making me a believer. I'm liking what I'm seeing. There's a lot to like. We lost Trent, I think. I don't know how bad his injury is, but yeah, I am liking a lot of what I'm seeing. So the key is going to be losing players. Like I just said, Trent's gone, and I don't know if that's a bad one. I always said that the Liverpool squad will be stretched thin. It will be interesting to see if they give him some investment, which they don't usually do in January, to see if they, give him a bit of help. But yeah, I mean, Man City are having a bad time with injuries, and that's a fact. I still think Man City win the league. I think it's going to be, it's certainly interesting with Nottingham Forest up there. It's interesting with, Arsenal, obviously, Chelsea with a draw at the weekend. Yeah. So I just think Man City still win the league, and I still think they win it by 6, 7, 8 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 points of a gap at the moment, but the 5 points to Man City is nothing, is it? When they get on their own.
100%. And big congratulations to Ipswich. We spoke about them last week. They finally got that win. They got that kind of monkey off their back, popped the cherry. And I think that was a great one for them.
And also to Wolves as well for doing the same.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, apologies to the Wolves fans. It's funny, we mentioned Southampton last week, or the week before they won their first game. We then mentioned Ipswich and Wolves at the same time, didn't we? And they've ended up with, so maybe we're like the precursor to getting people rocking and rolling.
And so now maybe we'll give Palace fans some hope and mention them this week, because
they had a bad they had a bad loss. They I thought they'd start to pick up their form. So I'm actually not worried about Palace. I actually think they'll be okay. They always seem to come strong in second half of the season. So interesting. Brentford obviously flying, scoring a lot of goals. And Man United, a sudden resurgence the minute Ten Hag goes out the door. Fucking who would have thought it, eh?
It's not like that's never been done with players before, playing for any manager.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't even started yet, has he? So it's like
I saw today that Van Nistelrooy is out, by the sounds of it.
He obviously wanted to bring in his own staff, and he didn't want any kind of hangover. I get it. It's going to be interesting. Maybe Man United are going to go on a run. Who knows? So it will be. It's getting. I'll tell you what. Villa are having a bit of a problem. You know what I mean? They haven't. They've had some bad results. The investment made there, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. Newcastle had a great win at the weekend. Away at Forest.
I mean, it often happens though with clubs that that make the Champions League, and now they're spread thinner with
What
the Champions League.
What do we say
and the
about
Premier
squads?
League.
What do we say about squads? And Man City are feeling that more than anyone, which you'd never think. But obviously, he's got some issues there, and for them, what if they lost 4 in a row? First time in his career, first time in Pep's career that he's lost 4 games in a row. So I mean that is interesting. So we'll see.
That being said, looking at the table for what it's worth, there's 1 point between Chelsea in 3rd and Aston Villa in 9th.
That's mental.
So
that's mental.
Pretty close.
Maybe the Champions League race is going to be the actual title race this year.
Right.
More so than because I still think I think it's too early for Liverpool. I hope I'm wrong. I just it's the injuries and they're doing well in the Champions League, they're doing well in the cups. I'm not sure we have the squad to be able to, as we showed a couple of years ago, we were 4 fronts and we won 2 cups and fell short in the Champions League and the league. So and that squad was probably, I don't know, we say it was better, but it'll be interesting. I just think Man City are too good, and I don't know what Brighton. Listen, they lost to Brighton on Saturday. No disgrace. I told you, I really like Brighton when they played Liverpool. Brighton are a fucking good team. Like the football they're playing. I mean, so I always, some of these managers, the way they set the teams up and they play and whatever else. I mean, it really is like revolutionary when you watch it, and the the confidence they're giving players that you'd never think could play in those systems. And they're like, wow, that's like impressive. So we'll see.
Now is Brighton, because of they keep, I don't want to say unearthing these managers, because these managers are obviously well known in the locations where they're successful, but perhaps to the Premier League they're unknowns. Is Brighton's success down to the players? Is it the management? Is it?
I think it's a collective. I think the recruitment's designed around a certain style of football.
Yeah.
Now it would be, you would definitely say the style this year is adjusted to the style last year, but it's still the same emphasis: dominate the football, to possession, all of those things. And I think they bring in possession-based players. They bring in players with pace and speed. They bring in players who defend, who are excellent on the football. Players who can play in tight areas, tight spaces. If you look at all those players, and they always have serious talent in midfield for winning the ball back. The boy who went to Chelsea, So you look at all of that, they recruit brilliantly. They then recruit managers that can then slot into that style and then still recruit around that. And I just think that's a football club thing. I dare say if you watch the Brighton under-21s play, they probably play exactly the same. So, that's a credit to the Blooms, who run that and own it, and to the director of football and the people at the top. Yeah, they just do a good job. And if he left tomorrow to go to Man United, or he went to Chelsea or Liverpool, that manager, they'd go and find someone else similar.
Right.
It would just, absolutely. And I think the problem with the previous guy was he was one of them who got too big for his station and started questioning the recruitment and questioning what we're selling. But his record of being at like 7, 8 clubs showed that he's always going to be a little bit of high maintenance. Yeah. So they probably got the best 2 years out of him, and it was time they moved on from him. So I mean, this young German manager, because he's so young, they'll probably get 3 seasons out of him. Yeah. Before somebody gives them 20 million for him, and they move on to another one. So it is what it is, on a bigger scale, hats off to clubs like Brighton. Same with Brentford. It's really to be commended. It's great to see.
Now it feels like the biggest news in the Championship this week was at Coventry and sacking Mark Robins after years, in charge, after a lot of success. It seems like it's not gone down very well with a lot of Coventry fans, for sure. And I know that you've got a good relationship with Coventry and some of the deals that you've done with them in the past. Like, what's your read on Robins leaving?
I don't know enough about it. I can't be too judgmental. I respect Coventry. I respect their owner. I respect the director of football. A lot of respect for Mark Robins. I don't know. I don't know what the conversations were. I know they had to start the season well. I know they spent money. The rest, there was expectation, in the summer. And when you have expectation, not like last year where you start slowly and maybe you hadn't spent as much and then you catch up. They obviously want promotion. They want to be thereabouts. Maybe I read some of the fans saying he looked tired. It was jaded. It was like, whatever. He'd been there so long. Is one of them, is it like Fergie, where he's gone for 8 months and, they fire the next guy and bring him back and he's re-energized or whatever else. But I don't know. I don't know who they're going for. I read there was some stuff about maybe the Wickham manager they're going for, the next shiny new toy who's doing well. I still think Coventry will be a force. I still think that, I look at their squad, I look at their attacking talents. I think they're far too good to be where they are. Mark Robins has been one of the best managers the last 7 years. But again, it's not my place to criticize ownership, because I've been there. I've been there with not wanting to lose a manager, but who felt he'd done stale himself. And, it's tough. And I think as the Coventry owner, because since he's gone in there, it's his first, sacking, or first, moving on to another. And it's easy to criticize from the outside. So it wouldn't be my place to do that. I would always say, well, okay, well, let's see how it all pans out. Let's see who they bring in. Let's see how that works with the squad and the players they've got. And see what Mark does. Is he going to take some time off? Is he going to re-energize? Sometimes as managers, when you're in it 5, 6, 7 years non-stop, ask my manager, it's a lot.
There's no break, is there?
It's a lot. And in football nowadays, where the average job is 11 months, that I think he was 7 years there. That from going down to League Two, to winning the trophy, to getting 2 promotions, nearly getting the 3rd promotion, the final against Luton, to losing FA Cup semi-final, the stuff he's done. And Coventry were on their fucking arse when he went in there. I mean, on their arse. I remember back in the day when they rang us about players when they were in League Two, and Barry saying, look, they can't pay the wages because they have a cap of, it was £2,000 a week at the time, for a club the size of Coventry and where they were located geographically, to reverse in that, where I'm moaning they're not paying us enough in wages for a loan player years ago, to suddenly they're spending millions on one of my players.
Yeah,
that's a credit to the Mark Robins effect, and that all happened within 7 years. That's a credit to obviously the new owner who's come in with his own expectations and all of those things. So again, let's see how it plays out. Let's see what happens. But he won't be out of work long.
No, I was going to ask, is his future, another Championship club?
Oh yeah, I think so. I without a doubt. I think it depends on the job. I think he'd want the right job. So, for example, I think if the Luton job came up and he's under a lot of pressure, I think Robins would be an absolute unbelievable fit for them. So, and I'm not advocating for the Luton manager to lose his job. I'm just going by the tea leaves of what I see out there with fan bases and whatever else. They've had a rough start, Luton. So I think it would have to be the right job. So, the right club, the right job, but he's not done by a long shot. And he probably could do it a month or two off, re-energize his batteries, recharge. And he's a wonderful manager. Very, very good.
I think the worst thing, I was listening to a conversation, actually, a podcast last week with Paul Jewell. So Paul Jewell, ex-City manager, got us up into the Premier League, did the same with Wigan, took jobs at Ipswich, at Sheffield Wednesday. And so one of the things he was talking about was, often taking the right job at the wrong time. And so the risk right now is, do you jump for a job because it seems like the right job, but it's because you want to get back into football, versus just biding your time for the right job.
And when you're out of football too long, you get forgotten quickly. And I get that argument. If I was his agent, I would say to him, look, it's November, wait till January.
Yeah.
Just give yourself 2 months, take 8 weeks off, go away with the family, get away from football, stay out of the Sky Studios, don't do the usual what managers do and whatever. Just take 8 weeks. Eddie Howe took a period of time after Bournemouth till the right job came, which was Newcastle. I think it took a whole year where you didn't see him, and then he reappeared on Sky. He did Friday Night Football or whatever it was. And I think Mark needs a couple of months. He can't take a year. He needs a couple of months, and he needs to, unfortunately, see what jobs become available then going into January. And even if one of them clubs want him, I would just say to the club, if you want me, you'll wait 4 or 5 weeks. Let me re-energize. Yeah. And some clubs would do that. So if for whatever reason Darren retired and it was during a season long in the future, hopefully, and I had the perfect candidate, but they were like, I need, I would try and hold over.
Yeah.
If it was the right candidate. So I think timing's everything. So let's see, but we wish him all the best. And for the Coventry fans, don't dump on your owner too much. I think he's been very good for you since he's gone in there. So give him a bit of grace, give him a bit of time. He's a pretty shrewd character. I think he'll get it right.
Well, let's finish things off by coming back to our shores here in Florida. And, for anyone who may be following, it's the playoffs in the MLS, which, are interesting. Let's just put it that way, the way they have it all set up and everything, much as the MLS. The first round of the playoffs is a 3-game series because, they want to have everybody have one extra TV day and one extra bit of money and one extra set of tickets to go and buy to see Lionel Messi play. And turns out that FIFA's chosen representative in the World Cup Championship, Inter Miami, beaten by Atlanta Saturday night. So Messi and co are out at the first hurdle, which is a big shock, to be honest, over here in the
They shit the
States.
bed. They shit the bed.
Yeah. I watched the game, and it was awful defending. They put all this money into a forward line, forgetting that you need to be able to defend as well. And an Atlanta team that have got their number this season, but it was still a little bit of a shock that they got beaten.
Well, look, and that's the madness of the MLS, where if it had been a league, I think Inter Miami would have won the league, right? It was over.
They won by 20 points.
Right. Okay. So that's where it's like an oxymoron. It's weird. But you go into playoffs, it's a bit like your NFL. Anything can happen. My Patriots, who were 19-0, lost to the bloody New York Giants, who were a 7-9 team in a one-off game. Like, anything can happen in a one-off game, but in this case, a three-off game, because the first two weren't enough and there was no penalties or extra time. So, bad from Inter Miami. They shit the bed.
Yep.
And if you're telling me, and I haven't watched them, that their defending is awful, well, then that's, I guess, arrogant in one way, where you're thinking you're so good attacking-wise, and really they should be.
Worry about that.
With some of the players they've got, Christ, they should be, winning games. But Atlanta have won, I believe, the MLS Cup before. Am I right in saying that?
I think they won, or they got close back when they started. They're maybe 5 years old. There was a lot of buzz around them when they first started. They were playing in the Mercedes stadium up in Atlanta.
And I guess there's a bit of the Bradford about it, where everyone wants to knock off the big dog, right? You've got that every week in League Two, where everyone maybe ups the game 5% in Bradford, and it's history and it's whatever. So now you've got in the MLS, everyone wants to take down Messi. So, look, not great. You're going to ask, is it good for Apple's ratings and the deal and whatever else? At the end of the day, they're still making headlines. They've been invited to the World Club Cup. They've had a season where they finished top of the standings, but they didn't win the actual thing. I guess, they'll want to come back at it next year and do better. I haven't seen the ratings. I haven't seen the numbers. I don't know about the growth. But, who knows? I mean, the way they've set it up, it's very much like the NFL, right? It's like, playoffs, standings, it's best from the east to west, the way they do it. I've always said, and you're going to hear me harp on about it, change the system. It's like, this doesn't need to be rocket science. It's like, at the end of the day, run your pyramid, do it right. So, but anyway, it is what it is. I'm sure Messi will be crying in his billions of dollars.
Oh, I'm sure he gets a few extra weeks by the by the ocean.
By the pool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, good. I think it's good for MLS. I think it's good for MLS teams. It's probably bad for MLS as an organization, because it shows 100%. Again, you can't necessarily buy success.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, you're absolutely right there, and that is a good thing, I suppose. You know what I mean? Because you don't want people coming in and doing just spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try and automatically buy a trophy. And that's just not the way, and it shouldn't be that way in sport. You kind of want the underdog to beat the Goliath. You want to beat them to beat the David. So fair play to Atlanta. We'll see who's your favorite to win if you're really into this.
I'd say to win it all, probably one of the LA teams.
Okay.
So those are probably so in the East, Orlando are actually the highest seed that's left now. So it's Orlando against Atlanta, and the two New York teams against each other. And the West, both LA teams who are 1 and 2 seed are still in. So my money would probably be on one of the LA teams to win it all. But we'll see.
I ain't putting my money on Orlando, that's for sure. So
no, Orlando were they were playing Charlotte, and this 3-match playoff series. So they won the first game, they lost the second game on penalties because there's no extra time; it just goes straight to penalties. The third game, it was 0-0, and then Orlando were losing, conceded one with 5 minutes to go, so it looked like it was all over. Then it went into injury time. They got a penalty 10 minutes into 8 minutes of injury time. The penalty was saved, but they scored the rebound to make it 1-1. Whistle went straight to penalties, and by the time 2 penalties each were taken, they were 2-0 up on penalties, and they won 4-1 on penalties. So that's how they got their game against Atlanta now in the conference semifinals.
Well, it's written in the stars, so there's got to be a reason for all of that. So good luck to them. Not my cup of tea, as you know, but anyway.
All right. Well, we don't have any questions this week, so
there you go. Get them in, fans.
Get your questions in. I think with the international week, we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
So do get some questions in for then. Contact@hardtruthfootball.com. Don't forget to follow us on X, on Instagram, TikTok. We're all at Hard Truth Pod. And you can also watch every episode on YouTube as well.
Thanks, guys, for listening.
All right, until the next time, we will talk to you all soon.
Bye.